Immigrants and Canadians are fed up with the government's targets on immigration, which are putting massive pressure on housing, rental supply, and on public services, and are just creating an absolute disaster when the economy is shrinking and you've got more and more unemployed people now coming to the country, essentially. And this is exactly what's happening. So I want to take you to this because this was posted on Twitter, and it just shows you to the extent of what's going on here. So this is a lineup for a job fair outside of Fortino's in Brampton. So I'm just going to play this to you so you can see. It's just absolutely crazy. It's a job fair that's going on, and just look at the line for this. This is just minimum wage jobs, guys. Look at this. It just goes on and on and on and on. I mean, this is just absolutely insane. And I saw also another person, and I couldn't actually find it, was posting a similar thing for McDonald's job fair as well, which was also in Brampton. So you are just seeing a lot of these immigrants that are coming to Canada, they can't find jobs. And now you've got scenes like out of the Great Depression unfolding, which just goes to show like how out of touch the government is with reality right now. And it's just kind of insane that you can see that obviously Canadians and even immigrants, I'm an immigrant myself, are even like, whoa, you need to chill these targets because they are fucking ridiculous. Does Canada need immigrants? Yes. Does Canada need skilled immigrants? Of course. But these targets are absolutely ridiculous. And I like what Pierre says actually, which is it's more like a vanity project of Justin Trudeau. So let's get into now what basically the guy is saying who is now in charge of immigration about it. And it is just kind of insane. And then we'll get into the fact that people are leaving, a phenomenon that is relatively new in Canada, but will be ultimately a disaster. So Canada has no plans to decrease immigration amid housing criticism, new minister says. And then let's see what he said. Canada's new immigration minister said he is open to having a conversation on concerns raised by some economists and groups on rising immigration targets amid a housing shortage. But he said he still has no plans to lower them in the near future. So basically, you've got him saying, yeah, I'll meet with you, I'll listen to you, but I'm not going to do anything about it. Like, we're not changing anything. We are the stubborn, arrogant Justin Trudeau government. And that is essentially what's happening, even though you've got scenes like that outside of Fortino's. So this is just kind of crazy what's going on with the immigration situation. And you're just going to continue to see crime rising in cities across Canada because most of the immigrants come to the cities across Canada, particularly Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary. Those are the main cities that immigrants flock to. You're going to continue to see crime rising there because when people fall on hard times, what happens? They have to resort to crime to get by. So this is just an absolute disaster, and it's Justin Trudeau that has caused this. And it's just kind of crazy that he's going from minister to minister and none of them have a clue what they're doing and completely out of touch with reality. Immigration Minister Mark Miller is expected to announce Canada's immigration plan later this year. Oh God, I can't wait for that. Which provides detail on the number and categories of newcomers to the country will welcome over the next 3 years. As per the current plan, the country aims to invite 465,000 permanent residents in 2023, 485,000 in 2024, and 500,000 in 2025. And just think about that with the last Labour report that we just saw, which was basically the economy lost jobs, but obviously it was much worse than it looked like on the face of that because the private sector lost around 23,000 jobs. So, you're losing jobs and then you're getting more and more people to come to the country every month, 40, 50,000 people every month as you're losing jobs. So the unemployment rate, as people have pointed out in the comments on this channel, have said that basically, this is unaccounted for in terms of the unemployment rate because it takes a while while for them to be reflected in that in terms of the population growth. So the unemployment rate, I mean, is likely double, if not triple right now, and people just don't realize it. So it's kind of crazy what we're seeing happening, and it makes Canada look like a third world country, to be honest. Honestly, looking at the numbers and knowing what I know and the needs that exist in Canada, I don't see a world in which we decrease it currently, Miller said. We do have to have a discussion about what steps are and be quite measured in our approach. But that is just an insane statement, because he just says, knowing what I know currently. What does he know? Because he obviously doesn't know a lot. He's not looking at the labor market. So it's absolutely insane. Canada experienced record population growth in 2022, comprised of more than 1 million permanent and temporary residents. But critics say Canada's current immigration target could worsen an existing housing crisis and put more pressure on public services. Yeah, it's going to create more homeless people. How are people going to be able to find rentals? If you're a landlord, are you going to rent out to people who are immigrants who are not even established with their credit? Or are you going to rent out to the people who are established with their credit? And it's obvious. You're going to rent out to the people with established credit. And that is the thing that these ministers, they just have no idea, because they don't live in the real world and they don't even see the repercussions of their actions, because they are elitist. All these politicians are elitists and they are just kind of completely out of touch, and this just proves that point. And then we were talking about this last week, but it's 6,000 workers TELUS is laying off, which is a lot, and it's also said its income has dropped 61% on a recent earnings report. So, you know, TELUS isn't seeing good times ahead. That's one of the biggest telecom providers in Canada. Considering how much they charge and how much a rip-off TELUS actually is, isn't this just ridiculous? Part of it is when you look around, there is more increasing competition when it comes to telecoms. The government has finally been forced to kind of allow at least some competition to come in and be able to actually compete against these big players like Rogers, TELUS, Bell. And you're essentially seeing like Freedom, who have cut their plans considerably, and TELUS can't compete with that. And even though TELUS has a more comprehensive network, most people live in cities in Canada, so they don't need that extra coverage so much, so they can just go with Freedom. And people are looking to cut costs right now, so the first place they're going to go to is these big oligarchy type companies that essentially charge insane prices and rip off Canadians. So it's just kind of insane what's happening. And then you're seeing this, and this is just a trend that is going to explode. And there are so many people that are leaving Canada right now, and this is what people don't understand. They're always talking about the immigration argument, what's happening with immigration, but they do not talk about the amount of people that want to leave, the immigrants that want to leave. The surveys that are coming out and saying 30% of immigrants want to leave who've come over the past 2 years, and that is because of the high cost of living. The cost of living is so insane, and we've seen that cost of living just rise throughout 2023. So it's likely even more people than it was last year when those polls and surveys were done. So this is just a crazy time. If Canada doesn't allow deflation and allow this bubble to burst, then it's going to have major problems on its hands, because a lot of these immigrants that are established are the ones that actually, yes, they can move to another country because they have the skills, and those are the skills that Canada wants. So as Canada basically invites lots of people over who are on the lower skilled end, and essentially are the people that Canada don't need, they're losing the higher skilled people that they do need, and also the retirement aspect that plays into that as well is a double whammy for them. So essentially you've got massive skill shortages too. So you can just see how broken the immigration is, because if the immigration system was actually functioning properly, we wouldn't have labor shortages, would we? But the fact is, the people who want to do those high skilled jobs will just go to the US, because the cost of living is way less, even though they're in the midst of a cost of living crisis too. So it's just kind of crazy, guys, when you really think about this. And how people can't see it is another thing. But remember this, guys, at least in Canada, you know, you've got lines like this that are happening at McDonald's job fairs, at Walmart job fairs, at Fortino job fairs. You know, Fortino's is just a grocery store, and all these people that are in this line are just there for minimum wage jobs at a grocery store. So this just shows you the level of craziness that we've got to with the immigration system. It cannot be hidden hidden anymore. It is right there in front of us. And it's only that people want to see it and accept it. And most Canadian immigrants, even like myself, we see that yes, there is a need for immigration. I'm an immigrant myself. The whole country of Canada was built on immigration, for Christ's sake. So yeah, we need immigrants, and especially with the amount of people that are retiring and wanting to retire and the birth death that we're having happening right now. But you have to address number one, why is the birth rate so low? Because the cost of living is so high. And then you have to address the second thing, which is basically, if you obviously have massive amounts of immigration and you're not really targeting certain areas, you're going to end up with surplus of workers in some areas and a complete deficit in others. So it's just absolutely crazy. Hopefully the immigration system gets revamped, but I don't see that happening. And all the damage that has been done over the past couple of years, it's going to take a long time for that to play out of the system, even once we get a new leader, a new prime minister, a new government that is just more sensible, quite frankly, than this insane government that we've had led by Justin Trudeau. So anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, you might like this video here. You might also like this playlist here that I picked out for you. And if you're looking for a VPN, you know to go to expressvpn.com/marketmania. I want to thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one.